Imagine this. You are filling out a form online, you accidentally hit the submit button too early, and suddenly you are faced with the error messages. Or worse, you have to start all over again. It's not just frustrating for you, but it also creates extra work for websites backend dealing with incomplete submissions. Now ask yourself, ever wondered how to prevent users from submitting a form before it is fully completed? If so, you are in the right place. Welcome to our tutorial on how to disable the submit button until a form is filled in Angular 17. I am Ayaz Zafar, a web developer with years of experience in crafting intuitive user interfaces and efficient web applications using Angular. Throughout my career, I have focused on enhancing user experiences and streamlining front-end functionalities, and today I am here to share some of that knowledge with you. In this tutorial, we will cover everything from understanding Angular 17 forms, setting up your project, to implementing form validation, and of course, disabling the submit button until all required fields are filled. Whether you are new to Angular or looking to upgrade your skills, this guide is packed with practical insights and real-world applications. So if you are ready to improve your Angular forms and create a more user-friendly experience on your applications, let's dive in. Let's start by understanding forms in Angular 17, an essential part of web development. In Angular, there are two main approaches to managing forms: reactive forms and template-driven forms. Reactive forms offer a model-driven approach, allowing you to create and manipulate form control objects directly in your component class. This method gives you more precise control over form's behavior, making it ideal for complex scenarios. Here we define a form group with two controls, first name and last name, directly in our TypeScript code. It's a straightforward way to manage form values and validations. On the other hand, template-driven forms are more straightforward. They are useful for simple scenarios and allow you to use Angular's two-way data binding to link form inputs directly to your model. In this example, the ngModel directive binds an input field to component's name property, simplifying form setup and data binding. Understanding these two approaches is crucial because it influences how we handle form validation, which is vital for enhancing user interactions. Proper form validation ensures users input the correct information, improving the overall user experience and reducing errors. Now that we have covered the basics of Angular forms, let's set up our Angular 17 project. This process involves creating a new project, installing necessary packages, and preparing our development environment. First, we will create a new Angular project. So open your terminal or command prompt and type this command: ng new your project name. Okay, ng new creates a new Angular application. We have named it project name, but you can set it to whatever name you prefer. Press enter and it will ask you some questions while installation. Just select whatever you prefer during those options. After creating the project, navigate into your project directory. Angular provides two packages: Angular Form for template-driven and reactive forms, and Angular Core for core functionality. So let's open this in our VS Code or in the editor, whatever you are using. So I already have installed my project. I am using Angular 17 in that project. So this is my Angular project, and I will run it in the browser by running the command ngserve -o or -o. That will automatically open it in my current active browser. Okay, so now with our project setup, we are ready to start building our form. Next, we will dive into creating the form structure and implementing validation to ensure our forms are user-friendly and robust. With our Angular project ready, let's move on to creating the structure of our form. For this tutorial, we will use Angular's reactive forms approach for its flexibility and control. We will start by building simple registration form using Angular's form builder. So first, we need to import the reactive forms module in our app module, or in the module where you have declared your component, or if you are using standalone components like I am using, then you have to import the reactive form module directly in your app component are in the component where you want to use it. So as I want to use it in the app component, so I will import reactive forms module. Make sure to import it from the angular/forms. This step is crucial for using reactive forms in our application. Now let's go to our component where we will create the form. We will use Angular's form builder to define our form structure with required field and validation rules. So first we need to inject the form builder. So for that I will create a property fb and I will inject it with the inject function that is available to use in Angular 17. You don't need to use constructor to inject it. So let's do that. Here I need to inject the form builder service. Okay, once that is done, we will create the registration form is equal to this.fb.group and pass it an object. In that object I will have all of the properties that I want to use as the input fields in my form in HTML. So first of all we need first name, and here default value is empty. Then we will have an array of validators. So first validator is required and second validator is minimum length 3, and then we will have last name, and we will have multiple validators for this as well. After required we need minimum length of 3 again, and for the email we need 2 validators, required and email, and for the password we need required and minimum length. Okay, so in this code we created a registration form using form builder service. We define 4 fields: first name, last name, email and password, each with specific validation rules. For instance, the first name and last name fields are required and must be the least 3 characters long. The email field is also required and must follow a valid email format. These validation rules ensure that user inputs valid and complete information before submitting the form. At least 3 it's an essential part of creating a user-friendly form that prevents common input errors and enhances the overall user experience. Now that our form structure is in place, we have a solid foundation to build upon. Next, we will dive deeper into the form validation, dynamic feedback to the user, and finally how to disable the submit button until our form meets all the validation criteria. With our form structure in place, let's shift our focus to implementing form validation. Angular's validation features are powerful tools that help ensure users fill out forms correctly, improving data quality and user satisfaction. We've already added some basic validation to our form controls such as validation.required and validation.email. Now let's see how we can check for form completeness and provide feedback to users in real time. So let's go to the index app.component.html, and here I will add a form, and within that form I will add a directive called form group and give it the form group that we just defined in our TS file, registration form. Within this form tag I will add some elements like div, then label, then input, then div. Okay, so this label is for first name, and after that we will have an input. That input will have the ID of first name, and the most important thing is the form control name that will link this input with our form group. So make sure to pass the correct spelling here, because this has to be exactly same as you have defined here in this object. Okay, now this div is for showing the errors. So first of all, let me add some error. First name is required, and now I will show this div conditionally. So for that I will use the if condition. If registration form dot get first name dot errors, and if it has the required error, then show this div. Further I will check and if registration. Okay, So I'm checking that if it is required, and also user has interacted with this input so that we could show the errors. We have some compiler errors. So here it is saying that object can possibly null, so we have to add question mark here, and also it is saying that we cannot access the required in this way. We have to use this syntax to access it. Similarly, we need to add question mark here. All right, we will repeat the process for other inputs as well, so let's do that. I will copy paste this div for other inputs for 4 times. Okay, so this is for the last name. So I have selected the first name and pressed the command D 4 times, and it has added the cursors in 4 places and selected all of the 4 instances of this first name string. So I will just click on press backspace and it will start editing simultaneously in all 4 places. So here I will add last name, and here I will add last name here as well. Okay, all right, here I will add the email is required, and similarly I will select all of the instances of the first name and I will replace it with the email. Okay, and now at the last we need for the password, so I will replace first name with the password and replace it with the password as well. All right, and the type should be password in this case. Okay, you can set the type to email as well if you want to here. Now save it as well. So in this HTML code, we have dynamically displaying an error message if the first name field is left blank and user has touched the field. This immediate feedback helps guide users through the form completion process, ensuring they understand what's required at every step. Notice how we use Angular to check for specific error in our form controls. The if condition allows us to conditionally display error messages based on the form control's validation status. This pattern is repeated for each form control, providing clear and specific feedback for each field. Implementing form validation isn't just about enforcing rules, it's about enhancing the user experience. By providing real-time feedback, we help users correct their inputs as they go, leading to smoother and more intuitive form submission process. We will continue to refine our form's functionality, making it not only functional but also user-friendly and robust. Now let's quickly test it what we have so far. So this is the form. Look at that. I just touched the input and it started to show the error message. Okay, one of the final piece to ensure our form is user-friendly and efficient to disable the submit button until all form fields meet our validation criteria. This step is crucial in preventing incomplete and incorrect form submissions. Angular makes it straightforward to dynamically enable and disable the submit button based on form's validity. So let's add a simple directive to our submit button that checks the form's valid status. So let's quickly add the submit button at the end of the form tag, and here I will type button. Here I will add register text in it, and then I will add type submit, and then I will add a disabled directive and I will give it registration.valid. Okay, so I am checking that if form is not valid, then keep the registration button disabled. So here the disabled attribute is bound to the negation of registration form.valid. This expression evaluates to true, disabling the button when the form is invalid, and false, enabling the button when the form is valid. Now let's quickly test it. You can see that the registration button is currently disabled, and now I will fill something in these fields, and now the button is still disabled because email is not valid. So let me add some valid email, and you can see that as soon as the email becomes valid, the registration button becomes enabled, and if you reduce the number of characters less than 3, then the button would be disabled again. So this technique ensures that users can only submit the form once all validation rules have been satisfied, significantly reducing the number of incomplete or incorrect submissions. It's a simple yet effective way to enhance the form submission process. By leveraging Angular's reactive forms and validation features, we can create a more intuitive and error-free user experience. Disabling the submit button until the form is completely valid is just one of the many ways Angular helps us achieve this. With these tools and techniques, you are well on your way to building forms that not only look good but also function seamlessly, ensuring your users have the best experience possible. We will improve this form further a little bit to reflect the real world use case a little bit. So right now nothing happens when you click on the register button. So you can add an event submit, and you can call a function on submit. Okay, so in this, now we will need to define this function in our TS file, and we will simply console the value of this form. Okay, and another quick thing is that I want to design the error messages, so I will add class error to all of these error divs so that we could give them a specific style in our CSS or SAS file. Okay, now here I will add error font size should be 10 or 12 pixel and color should be red. Okay, let's see. Okay, and you can also add margin bottom. So other than that, right now we are checking only the required error. You should check the other validation rules as well, like we also have the minimum length as well, so let's try that as well. So here I will add and registration form dot get first name, and this time I will check errors and I will check the minimum length. So if error is about the minimum length, then again I will show the same div, and this time I will make my error message more generic. So here instead of using and, I will use the or operator because this error should be shown if any of these errors occur. Okay, so I will wrap it in the parenthesis, and within that I will add the or operator like that. Okay, now here I will add invalid, or you can say that first name is required and minimum length should be 3. Okay, and same thing can be here as well. Last name is required, and I will add same kind of syntax to check the errors in the if condition in this way. And here let me fix it to last name. All right, now let's give it a quick try. So this is not working, so in order to see what else we have in the errors object, you can simply copy the errors. So just display all of the errors all together here, like so. In order to get all of the errors of a specific field, just paste this or type this errors and use the JSON pipe. This will display all of the possible errors. Okay, now you can see that it has the error minimum length, but it is showing the small letter L instead of capital. So that's why our error was not showing, because we were using the capital L here. So in order to fix that, I need to change it min. Let me copy paste this. Okay, now let's test it. So you can see that I have specified a character in this input, but it is still showing error because the validation errors are not fixed yet. Okay, great. Now the error is null. So let's remove this. With our form built, it's crucial to test its functionality thoroughly. Testing helps ensure that the form behaves as expected under various conditions. So try filling out the form with incorrect data like an invalid email address or leaving required fields blank. You will see that the form provides immediate feedback and the submit button remains disabled until the errors are corrected. I will tell you some quick debugging tips. So if you encounter issues where the form doesn't behave as expected, so here are a few tips for debugging common problems. First, check form controls. Ensure each form control is correctly bound to the template with the form control name directive. Second, validators. Review your validators to ensure that they are set up correctly. Sometimes issues arise from misconfigured validation rules. Next is template bindings. Verify the disabled binding on the submit button to ensure it accurately reflects the form's validity status. Next is console logs. Use console logs to inspect the form's value and validity status during development. This can help identify why the form isn't considered valid. Remember, careful testing and debugging are key to creating robust, user-friendly forms. With these steps and tips, you will be well equipped to handle any issues that arise and ensure your forms are as efficient and effective as possible. As we wrap up this tutorial, let's quickly recap the essential points we have covered today. Today we delved into the importance of form validation in Angular, showing how it plays a crucial role in enhancing user interaction by preventing premature form submission and ensuring that all necessary data is correctly filled out. We walked through the steps to dynamically disable the submit button until the form is completely valid. This approach not only reduces user errors but also significantly improves the quality of data sent to the backend, streamlining processing and validation on the server side. Implementing these techniques in your Angular projects will lead to more intuitive and error-free user experiences, elevating the overall quality of your web applications. I encourage you to apply these strategies in your own projects, so experiment with different forms, validation rules, and user feedback methods to see what works best for your applications. If you found this tutorial helpful, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more Angular tutorials and web development tips. Check out our playlist on Angular or dive into the advanced Angular features to further enhance your skills. Thank you for watching Ayaz Tech, where our goal is to provide you with high-quality, practical web development tutorials that empower you to build better, more efficient web applications. Be sure to explore our other tutorials for more insights and techniques. Don't miss out on our latest content. Click on the end screen elements to continue learning with us. Whether you are a beginner or looking to refine your expertise, we are here to help you on your development journey. Until next time, keep coding, keep learning, and always strive to improve. This is Ayaz Tech signing off. Happy coding.